U.S. Department of Justice at first in the Superior Court Division, but decided I want to come back here to Alabama, back home, because home is where not only your heart is, but where you need to make. Too often we have everybody get great talent and leave home. So I said that, well, I need to come back home. And I came back here, and I've been here. I've been practicing law here for approximately 27 years, representing people. Been at the same law firm for 26 years. Because, you see, once I get in something, I like to stay in it. I like to do well with it. You know, I tell people every time I get a car, I like to keep it. I know I ride the same car 300 or 400,000 miles on it almost, but keep it in good condition. You know, like I say, I'm stable. You know, the deacon at my church or director of music there, work with people all the time. And I've been at the same institution, married to the same woman for 24 years, and that's a great job. Looking for 25 and hoping to get 50 if the Lord bless us. And great children and great relationships and moving on. And of course, my platform is listed on my literature, but basically representing people, listening to people is what I do, and that's what I've done. All my experience has been on what we call in the legal field, this side of the bench, looking at what people want. And people have indicated that they feel that when they go to court, especially in this area, they waste a lot of time in court. Now, I try to explain to them, well, you're not really wasting time, but it looks like that to them. Because everybody comes at 9 o'clock. We start court at 9 o'clock. And I've always said, why 9 o'clock? Why is that so magical? I practice law in almost every courthouse in this state. I think I have not been up to Fort Payne doing a case, but I've done cases almost everywhere. I've been before every federal court in this state, every bankruptcy court, the 11th Circuit. I'm one of the few people around here who has ever been before the U.S. Supreme Court. I've been around, and I see how other people do things, and I want to take those experiences and make it work better. And what I plan on doing, because see, as a judge, of course, you cannot make promises how you will rule and handle on a case, but I can administrate my court. That is the docket and how I run the courtroom. The judge is in charge of that. And so I'm going to run it in a way that will try to alleviate some of that, and simply by doing some simple things. I'm going to, what we call stagger the docket. That is, not to have everybody come at 9 o'clock. I mean, if I have 100 people coming, and I know I got 100 people coming, well, I may have some come at 10, some 11, you know. That way, at least they'll have some time to deal with their own schedule. Because people make those cries, and I want to help the people. I want to use the technology we have. See, when you know better, you should do better. We have technology now. When I first started, you had to do certain things a certain way because everything was on paper. But now, our court files are on computer. I can take my BlackBerry phone right here, which I do often, and look up cases and even type and do things with this small device. But I can take a laptop and work wonders. And so I don't see why I can't have a lot of preliminary matters done in afternoons, calling lawyers and calling parties, getting them together on conference calls. Because a lot of federal judges do that now. Matter of fact, I was surprised 2 weeks ago, a judge from Montgomery called me about a case I had and talk about it, and got the other lawyer, and we talked and made some progress on it. I made a remark. I said, oh, you calling people now, Judge? He said, yeah, I heard some of your campaign spiel, and it makes sense. And what it made sense to him was that by the judge staying in contact with those parties, it'll help move the case faster. And so by handling a lot of preliminary matters on the phone and other means, electronic means, we have more time to devote to your case in court. Because, see, I want to hear from victims. I know we talk about victims, we think about crimes, and there are victims in crime. There are more victims than criminals now, I'm telling you. All of us have been victimized in some kind of way. I'm a victim. People breaking some of my rental houses just for a little copper. Well, we need to figure out how to deal with that. But there are also civil victims, too, in ways. So I want to hear from the people so we can make the best decision. That's why I say you have to have the right type of compassion. And by that, you're talking about understanding. It's biblically defined as understanding the people, understanding the lay of the land. And by working with people, I've lived with them. I try to stay in touch with people because, matter of fact, a lawyer asked me, well, was I going to get on the bench and lose sight of who the people are? I said, no, I'm going to remember I was a lawyer. And that's one of my pledges. I won't forget that I was a lawyer going from court to court practicing, and I work with attorneys and people to do that. And so by doing all that, I think that platform will help make the courthouse a little more accessible to us, and we can get better understanding and better justice in what we do. So that's where we are, and I appreciate you and ready to move forward.
All right.
All the way.
All right, so now we're going to go into our question and answering session. I'm going to let you, Mr. Heisel, start off.
Sure, sure. I think, as I was talking a little bit earlier, each candidate disagrees wholly or in part for some reason with the other candidate. And I would like to know, you as a candidate for the office of circuit judge, what do you disagree with in the present system now that you think needs changed and that you can change for the better?
Well, simply, I don't know why we had to always start at 9 o'clock. I'm going to change that. And of course, don't get me, we start at 9 with some folk, but we'll do some different things. We'll stagger that out. Those type of things. Also, I know the law has changed over the course of the years since I've been around, and I've seen where the legislature has authorized victims, especially in criminal cases, to be heard in cases. Because before, the district attorney or attorney general would make whatever statements, but now victims do have certain legal rights now in cases. But well, I want to actually hear from them a little more too. Now, I do know that our judges do try to make the district attorney let them know, well, what victims' approval or say so or whatever. But I want to make that a more priority too. That we want to hear from them in a way. And of course, if they're not going to be there present, I want to be assured from that particular attorney who's representing them that, hey, we have spoken with them, this is what they want, and then we'll consider all that together. We may not do everything they want, now don't get me wrong, but we'll consider that because we want to hear that. And so those are some things that immediately come to mind. Plus, I don't mind trying to use the technology we have in a way to make the court run faster. Like I say, have those phone conferences, call people, put them together, and try to get a lot of preliminary matters done.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a minute time. We're giving each candidate a minute to answer the questions.
Okay.
So we don't get, because some questions can have a long answer. So we're just trying to get you guys to be brief and to the point, and you fell into that minute.
Okay. Judge Jones, to follow up with you, if you're elected for your next term, what would be your priorities or the priority of any changes that you would want to make, or a better way to do anything? Do you have any plans to change your court?
Well, Gene, one of the changes that we're undergoing right now is a change as a result of the budget problems that we've been having through the state legislature. The Administrative Office of Courts has reduced throughout the state the budget, and therefore in turn we've reduced our staffs, and it's created a huge burden throughout the system. So we have already made adjustments so that we comply with AOC's requirements, and also so that we attempt to provide the best possible service to people given the constraints of the budget cuts. We've consolidated court weeks in the outerlying counties. We have brought in the other two circuit judges here in the Dallas County to work the dockets together, especially during criminal week, and it's been quite effective. So we're making some adjustments. I wouldn't say changes, but certainly adjustments that are necessary because of the budget restraints.
I think the revenue problem has gotten itself into almost all of the court systems.
Well, I know our circuit clerk's office has lost a number of key personnel, and it has resulted in the circuit clerk's office having to close for a period of time during the day so that the staff can keep up with the volume of work that's going on.
The load. That was going to be my next question about the budget and the budget cuts. You've been hearing that all throughout the state of Alabama, the cuts for the judicial system. Collins, this question is directed to you, and I do also want you to answer it, Judge Jones. With the staggering docket, it looks to me, the way you describe it, that it will take more manpower. And with the cuts in the budget, how do you see that happening, and how would you facilitate that? I mean, I see if you do it on your own, but you're going to need a secretary. It's going to shift a lot of time around with the scheduling. You have to be near the phone to make sure the schedules are always right and make sure the person is going to make it. So you got to have someone to man that time. How can you justify that change with the cuts that we have currently in the state of Alabama judicial system?
Well, actually, and of course, I don't know if you were really looking at that or listening well. Actually, that helps, and that helps manage that. Because, see, right now, all the files on computer, they're electronically now. They're scanned in electronically. Judges now enter orders electronically. We would not necessarily have to have someone from the clerk office physically there in court. So it's going to help with that.
Okay.
So I won't need that manpower from the clerk's office. I can take my laptop and our reporter and handle things. And plus, especially on some preliminary matters, we can probably handle things in a way, and we can still enter orders on the computer and may not even need the court reporter. So it's actually going to save in a great way doing that. And plus, it's going to help manage the court time because we're going to handle those preliminary matters and get a lot of stuff done that we won't be there. See, like a lot of people may come, they're sitting there and they see people come in the courtroom and may go to the bench and do things, and they may see somebody come in with a cup of coffee or somebody reading the paper. They think they're wasting time, but they're really handling important business. But to them, their case hasn't come up yet, and they're just waiting. Well, if I can alleviate some of that, handle some of that at a separate time, maybe even on the phone and maybe through some technology ways, that would actually alleviate that and cut down some of that time.
All right.
So it's going to save.
Okay, so the phone issue is what I mean, the manpower of the phones, because you mentioned that you're going to do telephone calls and conference calls with
conference
people.
call. Yeah, well,
Okay.
you handle that yourself.
Okay, just
No,
asking.
That's a one-man operation. You
Just-
handle that yourself.
Just checking.
Yeah.
And I'm Jones. What is your viewpoint on that?
Well, of course, we already do conference calls, and Mr. Pettaway knows this, and he's actually participated in conference calls in my office before. We use that regularly, and it's particularly effective when you have cases involving attorneys in numerous different jurisdictions. I just finished a case in Wilcox County wherein we had 30 lawyers involved defending Weyerhaeuser. There was one day that we had to have a conference call, and I set up a conference call through one of the calling services so that everybody could call in, and we took care of business that way. So we're already using the conference call system.